Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Jason, Art of Creation Homestead, and we're going to can some tomatoes today, alright? This canning video is something you guys have obviously wanted to see from us. They've been pretty decent, pretty successful for us. We're going to keep doing them because that's something we really want to do, is show you guys how to grow your food, harvest your food, and cook it and preserve your food. So this is what we're going to do today, can some tomatoes, alright? It's something we depend on heavily, and we're going to bring you over here to the stove and the sink, and the lovely camera lady is gonna work her magic with the camera.
I'm not on the camera today. Today I'm going to show you how to can tomatoes. This may not be the way that you saw your granny can tomatoes. Most of your grandmas have probably hot packed canned tomatoes. That's the only way I ever knew. It's the only way I ever canned them. Then I started seeing people do a raw pack method, and it intrigued me. Last year I tried it for the first time and fell in love with it. There's multiple reasons why I did. It's easier. The canner does all the work for you. You don't do a ton of work. But the biggest reason, the flavor is so much better and the texture is so much better, because when you hot pack your tomatoes, you are cooking them once, and then you are putting them in the jars hot, cooked already. Then you are putting them in the water bath canner and cooking them a second time. So the canner cooks them one time. So this is how you get started. You wash all your tomatoes really well, get any debris off of them. Then you take up a large pot and you bring the water to just a gentle bubble. See, you can see just gentle bubbling. You don't want it at a rolling boil, just gentle bubbling. And you want to maintain that gentle bubble. So see, it's just gently bubbling. Now this is how you get ready to peel the tomatoes. You take the tomato and see where the little belly button end is at. You barely poke the knife in. See, you just barely poke it through. Just enough to score the skin. Just do a little X. See, there's a little X. See? See, that way and then that way. I'll show you again.
Are you cutting in the tomato at all, or just cutting the skin?
Just barely. You will barely score into the tomato. Mostly you're just cutting the skin. Your knife is the point of your knife is just barely going in. It's just to give it a starting point. And I always score all of my tomatoes. I always do this to all of my tomatoes before I start putting them in the water, because it doesn't take long once you're putting them in the water. So you want to score all of your tomatoes first. So now this whole pile of tomatoes is all scored and ready to go. So now, this is where the magic happens with it, because it's very interesting how this will do this. You want to take your tomatoes that you've scored, you want to drop them into this water. You can drop them in by hand, or you can put them in a slotted spoon and lower them in slowly. I just live dangerously. You only want to put, for this size pot, you only want to put about 5 or 6 tomatoes in. You don't want to overcrowd it, because you've got to get them out quickly. And as you can see over here, I have a sink full of cold water that I'm going to put them in the minute the skins crack. So you want to keep moving them around and looking to see when your skin is split. And see, one's already split. See? All that skin is already split and starting to wrinkle. So it'll just slide right off. But now you want to stop the cooking so that it doesn't keep cooking. And you just keep going until your whole pile of tomatoes are done. See, that one's split, and the skin is just sliding right off. See, there's another one. See, it's that quick. See, you can literally just slide the skin back. All of the tomatoes have been scalded, and now they're shocked in cold water to stop the cooking. And now, as you can see, the skin's already raising up. See? Skins are already raising up. And what you're going to do now, you're going to peel and core the tomatoes. See? And it's this easy. Literally. See? It's that easy. And that tomato is completely peeled. Now all you do is you take your knife and you just stick it in and just go around the core and cut it out. See? This is a Bonnie Best, and Bonnie Best has a very small core. We did a video about Bonnie Best, and we'll link it. And see, it has a very small core, so you miss out on, you don't cut away a lot of the tomato. And now, at this point, you have an option. You can either put this on a board and dice it into nice, pretty little dices, like you get out of the can in the store. Personally, I don't really care if they're diced perfect. When you're eating them in a bowl of chili or whatever you choose to put them in, you're not going to care if they're perfectly diced. So basically what I do, I just cut them into chunks. And I usually do it in my hand over a large bowl. And see, I just cut them into chunks. You've probably seen your grandma do this, because this is the way I was taught. You just chunk them up. It's the easiest and best way to do it, to be honest.
If you have any bad spots your tomato, here's where you cut it out.
Yes.
As well.
Yes. Thank you for saying that, because we don't really have any bad spots in them. So this one, the belly button's a little big, so you may want to cut that out.
Different varieties are different, right?
Yeah. Different varieties are going to take longer for the skins to split. Like Bonnie Best, the skins split almost immediately. Literally, you put them in there and it's almost immediate. Now this is a hillbilly. It's got a little deeper core.
One of our new favorites, by the way.
It's got a deeper core. So see, you have to cut much deeper, because see, you can see the core right there. It's got a much deeper core, so you have to cut much deeper into the tomato to get that core out. But isn't that beautiful? And see, here's the thing. Some people just like to do one variety of tomato. Just the ones that say good for canning. Just Romas or whatever. Honestly, I do any type of tomato that's ready in the garden, because it's just going to add beautiful flavor element to these jars of tomatoes. And this hillbilly is going to add beautiful color to your jars and an amazing flavor. And why wouldn't you want that beautiful color in your jars of tomatoes? And a different flavor element. It's going to be more in depth. If you just do the same old tomato all the time, how are they going to taste anything different than what you buy in the store? This lets you know these are homegrown and done with a lot of love. Okay, as you can see, I have peeled, cored, and cut up all these tomatoes. And it makes way more than you think. So when you're washing your jars, make sure you wash more than you think you're going to use, because it's going to surprise you how much product you are going to get. These jars have been washed in the dishwasher and heated on the heated dry cycle, so they're completely sterilized now. So at this point, you can either choose to pack these in their own juices, or you can choose to put over boiling water and dump off all the juice. I choose to pack them in their own juices. First off, it's easier. Second off, it's tastier. So what you need to do is, this is a controversial issue right now, and I don't really know why, but it is. First off, you can put salt or not put salt. It's all up to you. I personally put salt in mine. I put a half a teaspoon of canning and pickling salt in the bottom of my jars. Now, I've got more than 4 jars. I'm just showing you this. I put half a teaspoon in the bottom of each jar. Now, this is a controversial issue of whether you can water bath can or have to pressure can tomatoes. you need to bring up the acidity level. I know it's an acidic thing, but the acid levels vary on types of tomatoes so much, depending on your soil, depending on a lot of different things. So you need to bring that acid level up to make it safe. So you can do that with citric acid, or you can do that with plain old bottled lemon juice. I'm using bottled lemon juice. For a pint, you want 1 tablespoon per pint. If you're canning them in quarts, you want 2 tablespoons per quart. So I'm putting this in the bottom of the jar. It'll start dissolving that salt. Now, what we're going to do, I'm just taking a regular stainless steel spoon, pick up your jar, and just start putting your tomatoes in. Just start putting your tomatoes in and pushing them down. Because when you push them down, it starts releasing juice. See, you start getting all that natural juice in there. So you're canning them in their natural juice. And you just keep ladling in till you get to 1/2 inch headspace. And if you've watched any of my other canning videos, I've told you what headspace is. Headspace is the space between the top of the jar and the food. Now, what we're going to do, I may have to add some more, but what we're going to do, we're going to stick our debubbling tool down in here, and you're going to push it down and help. This is also going to help break up the tomatoes a little bit, bring out some juice. And see, now you'll see, you'll get a true reading now of whether it's a 1/2 inch. And see, this is also a measuring device, so you'll put it down there. See, I need a little bit more. So I'm going to dip off some of this beautiful juice that's right here. I'm not going to dip any tomatoes, just some of this beautiful juice that is collected. And just spoon some of this juice in here. Now, I'm going to take a paper towel. You just want to take regular paper towel. And you've seen me do this before, but I've never actually shown you doing this. Just wet the paper towel. Squeeze it out. You want it damp, but you don't want it dripping wet, because all you're doing is cleaning the rim of the jar. You can also do that. You can also wet it with white vinegar as well. I just do it with water, and you wipe around the rim of the jar. And then you take a hot flat. These have been washed in hot soapy water and then put in boiling water that I dipped out of my canner. You put the lid on the jar. You put a ring on. And because I've raw packed them, I just set it to the side until I get them all filled. So I'll show you how to fill one more, just so you know what to do. You just spoon them in and take your spoon and chop them down. That way they start releasing juice. See, there's all kinds of beautiful juice in there. Sorry, I bumped you. Then we'll take our handy dandy debubbling tool and we'll push it around. Push it around the outside, because that's a lot of times where your bubbles are at.
I like the way these jars look. Like the jars of tomatoes.
Yes.
Like, you're not going to find that in the store. You don't just go to the store and get up a glass jar of tomatoes that's got different kinds of tomatoes in it.
No.
It's just the same old junk. This is better.
Yes. This is why I put different types of tomatoes in. You get so much it's so much prettier. You get such a depth of flavor.
I mean, it looks like you got pineapple in there, but you don't.
Yeah.
It's just a wonderful tomato.
Now, we're going to put a lid on. Again, I'm using a magnet to get them out of the hot water. You can use tongs, or if you have strong fingers, you can just use your fingers. Now, you just want to tighten them down finger tight. And now we're going to keep filling. We've got 8 absolutely gorgeous pints here. As you can tell, they are completely gorgeous. Now we're going to put them in the water bath canner. This is the Ball electric water bath canner that I'm using. You can use a regular old-fashioned canner on the stovetop that you can buy at any garage sale or antique store or anything for just a few dollars. But this is what I choose to use. You're going to lower your jars down in there. You want to use jar lifters to do this, because you don't just want to put it over top of the water and drop it. So you're going to load up your canner, and this will hold, the Ball electric water bath canner will hold 7 quarts, but it will hold 8 pints. And I'm doing it all in pints, so it will hold all of these in one thing. So we're going to load them all in. It's going to be a full boat. So we'll be back when I get them all loaded in. Okay, I've got them all in, and as you can tell, it's full in here. Now, what you want to do, I have filled this with water ahead of time and brought it to a boil. You want to make sure it's at a boil before you put the jars in. And as you can tell, the boil has calmed down now. It's calmed way down and almost stopped, but it will come back quickly.
Oh, that's what.
And I have put once it's come to a boil, I put 2 good splashes of white vinegar in to get rid of any water sediment that will settle on your jars. That's an old canner's trick. Now, the Ball electric water bath canner has a plate that you put on top to hold the jars in place as they process and boil. That way they don't jiggle around and knock around and hit each other and turn over and things like that. That way it holds them all in place. So I put that on top, and I usually take my jar grabbers and push it down to make sure it's secure. Now, a regular stovetop canner is not going to have that plate. So now you put the lid on, and you let this come back up to a boil. When you see it boiling really good again, then you will set your timer. Because these are pints, you will set your timer for 40 minutes. Now, if these were quarts, if you chose to can them in quart jars, you will want to can them for 45 minutes. It's been 40 minutes and they have processed, and you want to turn the heat off at this point and take the lid off. And with this canner, you want to remove the plate, and you want to leave it sit for 5 minutes so that everything gets calmed down inside, the boil stops, and that way the jars have time to rest and not boil for 5 minutes. It's been 5 minutes, and as you can see, I've started taking them out of the canner. I will tell you with tomatoes, I always tell you, if you've watched any of my other canning videos, I tell you to lift straight up and tip slightly to knock off a little bit of the water, but not all of it. You don't want to tip tomatoes at all, because it takes a very steady hand, and sometimes they still spew out a little product. It's just what happens with tomatoes. Don't worry about it. It will be fine. We will get rid of this water in just a minute. Now, what you want to do to take care of the water, you just want to take some paper towel or a towel and just gently dab. Just gently dab the water away. Let it absorb it. Don't push hard. Just let it gently push the water away. Make sure you have it sitting on a towel. That way all that water can go onto the towel and not all over your countertops. You want to do this gently, because see this little popper right here in the middle, this little bulge? You don't want to push down on that, because then you've sealed it. It hasn't sealed itself, and eventually it will come unsealed. So now you just finish dabbing all of this water away, and you leave them sit for 18 to 24 hours. I need to show you this. As you can see, when they come out of the canner, they're going to be separated. You're going to have tomato juice and water down here at the bottom, and you're going to have your solid tomatoes at the top. As they start to cool, you will notice that start to come back together as one, it will not fully come together as one. Some people, after 24 hours, they choose to shake them together, and you can do that if you want to, or you can just leave them like they are, and they will be just fine. And then before I use them, I take a spoon and stir it back together, and it's fine.